Today, I'm going to make yet another frame. My wife made me a cross stitch that I really like, and I want to make a frame for it with glass. And you've seen me do frames before. I've got several frame videos, and I'm going to do it pretty much the same way. But the frame I'm going to do something different at the end. So now that I have this entire frame glued up and sanded, I'm gonna basically ruin the sanding for a moment because of what I'm gonna end up doing with it. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna paint water onto it, and I'm gonna raise the grain. And then once the water is dried, I'm gonna sand the raised grain off again at the highest grit. Because what I'm going to do is basically dunk this whole thing into water as the next step after that. So I used the wood abbanizer, and on low tannin woods it more is a wood ager, and the wood abbanizer is just vinegar and steel wool. I really like this because it doesn't splotch, it doesn't do anything. And what I really like about it is it gives a really pretty hue to the wood once you've sanded it and put a finish on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to resand now, but lightly, this entire frame at the same grit that I sanded it before. I made a mistake on my first attempt at this project. Actually, there were two mistakes. My first mistake was that I left the camera on time-lapse, and I didn't record all the details and all the talking that I did, and it was some good stuff too, I'd add. The second mistake was I added way too much paint to the water for this to be nice. It wrapped around the entire project like a piece of plastic, and it looked like heck. So I ended up having to clean off all that paint and resand everything down to the right grit, and then re-add the wood abbanizer. It's been an overnight time since the wood abbanizer was added, so it's good and dry now, and I'll do another attempt today. Hopefully this time it will work out better. Wish me luck. The trick of doing this project is that, first of all, you do not want to put very much spray paint at all. You have a tendency to want to really load up the top of the water for spray paint, and I already discovered from doing this a couple of times that if you really load the spray paint, then it's going to look like hell. So don't do that. I personally want to have enough open space that I'll still be able to see the wood when this project is done. So I'm going to put very little paint. Then once you have your paint on the wood, which will on the water, which will be floating, what you're going to do is you're going to take your piece of wood and you're going to add it to the water like that. And the reason why is you want to make sure you get the most coverage of the wood, the most coverage of the wood. So you don't go straight down, you kind of go in like this. Okay, so first the trick is we're going to add spray paint. So I got some red and I got some blue, and we're just not going to add very much at all. We're just going to, oops, this is white. And then I got some glue as well. And quite honestly, this is probably too much paint. So what I'm wearing is I'm wearing latex gloves, and that way the paint doesn't get all over me. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna go for it. Now, what you want to do is get the paint off the surface, and when you lift it, you end up with that. Now, you don't want to touch this. So I'm going to just hang this up on the clothesline and let it dry, and then we will take it from there. Another couple things you need to consider when you're doing this project is that whatever bucket or device that you're going to hold the water in, be prepared to the sides of that to be ruined, because the paint is going to attach to that and then it's going to stick. So just be prepared for that. And also, you need to be prepared for anything that you're wearing, or your skin or whatever is going to be touched with the paint too. So no matter what you do with this method, it's going to be a random pattern. It's going to look different every single time, and sometimes it's going to look better than others, and that's just the nature of this particular method. I think it's going to look good in the end, and we shall see once the paint dries. What I like about this method of coloring the wood is it makes a truly random pattern that you cannot get with a can of spray paint naturally. So it's all random, and you get all the colors that you had, and it looks good. Now all I have to do is put a finish coat of clear polyurethane on there, and I can assemble this frame and it will be done. So now I have finished the frame, and I added several coats of polyurethane to do as a final finish on top, and it looks good in my opinion. And now the last trick is to determine which way is up. Since it's a random pattern on here, there is no definite up or down. One thing you want to avoid is the half laps. You want to be at the top and the bottom, so you really only have a couple of choices. But other than that, you put it on your piece of artwork and you try to figure out which way is up. Now I have a specific trick for this, and that is I call my wife into the room and I try it different ways. And at some point she will say, "That's it. Awesome. Now we're got it figured out which way is up." I will mark this, and then I will frame the whole thing. Another framing project completed. Backing paper installed and hanger installed. And now it's time to hang it on the wall. Perfect. Finally, just remember, after every woodworking project, you should always count your fingers. You end with 10, good job.